Hello everyone, welcome to the Yissel Missile Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissel, and today we are picking up on our deep dive series into Coral Castle. We have this paper that we've been reading the past several weeks by Ray N. Stoner called The Enigma of Coral Castle. And we left off on page 40. And there's only 5 pages left. So we are going to get into this without further ado. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are in no light compensation mode on the camera, so if you notice it looks any sharper, that is why. Okay. So again, on the off chance that you're following along at home with this same paper, we are on page 40. we'll be looking at these diagrams in full screen. And this is a lot of information here, just in these last 5 pages. Alright, so let's begin. Earlier, it was mentioned that these sites quite possibly are the remains of a universal power grid, which we no longer know how to use. If this is the case, then it would appear that this grid girdles the earth. Quote, from Watkins' observation that stone circles stood on straight lines or lays, L-E-Y-S, with other ancient sites, was developed the idea that the circles were centers of natural telluric energy, and the alignments on which they stood were the paths of its seasonal transmission. One of the grounds for this theory was repeated assertions by archaeological dowsers that their ends or pendulums detected strong radiations from stone circles and other spots of traditional sanctity, and also formed certain tracks leading up to them. End quote. Apparently, this system was used to convey energy around the planet. Quote, the strength and directions of the currents of the magnetic field, which is said to flow over the surface of the Earth, and apparently influenced by such factors as the proximity and relative positions of the other bodies of the solar system, chiefly the sun and the moon. The sun imposing a daily rhythm modified by such influences as the lunar cycle, the moon exerting the same influences on the visible magnetic flow as it does on the tides. At certain seasons, the lines were believed to become animated by a current of invisible energy. One of the most sacred locations where the ancients believed the most powerful telluric and cosmic forces met in a creative intercourse was in a cave with a natural spring under a pyramidal mound. End quote. And these 2 quotes were pulled from Megalithomania by John Mitchell from 1982 and Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids by Peter Tompkins from 1976. Hey Jason, good to see you. The foundation of the pyramid at Giza is only slightly higher than the elevation of the Nile River, a quarter of a mile away. Consequently, any underground chambers would be below the water table, making the probability of water extremely likely. In fact, legends abound concerning underground water at the pyramid. Herodotus, the 5th century BC historian, who has proven to be an extremely descriptive witness of life, noted that beneath the pyramid there was a type of island constructed, which was surrounded by water channeled in from the Nile. Consequently, we assume there is water present, and we move on to Stonehenge. Stones at Stonehenge are reputed to have healing powers, as do most structures located over sacred water sites. Not only do people continue to flock to these sites, but animals also congregate there and follow geotic lines to them. It is easily assumed that an energy is manifesting here, as illustrated from bent trees and soil shift in the field. So we have a diagram here. I will show you here full screen. Again, good to see you all here live and in the chat. So this is showing the Pyramid of Giza. Man, isn't that much more crisp? That's good for a screenshot if anyone's looking for that. All right. And we're under the assumption here that there's even more under the pyramid. of Giza, at Giza. And I don't know, the jury's still out on that whole pillar thing that's recently been talked about, because that's brand new. Okay, continuing on. Quote, at Stonehenge there are found multiple aquastats running in pairs along geodetic lines 50 feet or 70 feet apart. There is ritually a spring for every stone at Stonehenge. The Great Horseshoe contains the largest stones on the site. They are 20 to 22 feet high, with each one aligned between blind springs and nodes. The group is aligned on a double water line, which originates in the center of the altar stone, which then take a U-shaped course passing under each stone. End quote. I might as well just show you now since it's here on the page. We got another diagram. It's just showing the water lines at Stonehenge and the aquastats. There's a consistent theme of water being at these sites, as many of you are aware of. All right. Continuing on. If this currently unrecognized source of energy could be, quote, harnessed, end quote, an infinite source of free power could be available. However subtle its effects seem to be, it appears to be infinite and everywhere. The Sun Pyramid of Teotihuacan is similar to that at Giza in cross-section. Referring to the Pyramid of the Sun, Tompkins says, quote, though there was no evidence of any spring or course of water usually associated with underground shrines, such as Lourdes, Lourdes, broken pieces of interlocking segments of drain pipes made of carved rock indicated they may have once been used to channel the flow of an underground stream. A thin line of vegetation to Millian on his aerial maps indicated the possibility of a former underground water source which may have dwindled to a trickle, end quote. And again, these are from Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids by Peter Tompkins from 1976, and also The Pyramid, or The Pattern of the Past by Guy Underwood from 1970. So again, we have another diagram here, and it's showing a cross-section of the pyramids. So I'll let you take a look at that real quick. And this is showing things such as like 6th level, 3rd level, 4th level. There we go. So I believe what we're looking at is overhead, like an overhead drawing. Overhead schematics. Yep. Alright, continuing on. Caves from the remotest antiquity have been of key importance in the religious history of Mesoamerica, a symbol of creation and of life itself. Quote, springs have been regarded as openings to the underworld and to the earth gods, the unnumbered spirits of the earth. Many are the legends of gods or of extraterrestrials creating men in their present mold inside labyrinths of caves. End quote. From studies done on Logan stones, it would appear that important blind springs are always located beneath them. Indeed, there are at least 30 of them underneath the rocking chairs and pivoted doors at Coral Castle. We know that water is a universal catalyst and has the highest specific heat of any known substance due to its unique ability to collect and concentrate an enormous quantity of soft electrons, or etheric energy. When water is exposed to a gravitational field, the soft electrons are repelled, while the water molecules are attracted. This could explain why the ancients were so preoccupied with lunar eclipses, which have no apparent physical influence on the Earth other than on the level of magnetism. I'm going to reread a portion here, because I think it's important. From studies done on Logan stones, it would appear that important blind springs are always located beneath them. Indeed, there are at least 30 of them underneath the rocking chairs and pivoted doors at Coral Castle. So this paper is claiming that there's over 30 blind springs located at Coral Castle. Not unlike what's at Stonehenge. Right? That's how I'm interpreting this. Continuing on. Hey, Jay Wild, I see you there. We're on the last 2 pages of this paper. It is obvious how each of these sites is aligned in such a manner that it will pick up the light or vibrations from a specific astronomical object on a pre-programmed basis, dictated by where the geometric shape had to have been placed upon the surface of the planet. Some are aligned to solstices. I don't know why I was going to say something else. Some are aligned to solstices, some to equinoxes, while others to star ascensions or declinations. These structures accumulate or modify the energy from the first or last light and transmit it downward into the water, where it can be stored and used locally. Then at certain times of the year, all of this energy is transported along the grid to another structure where it is blended and dispersed for the good of all. This power, among other things, could have been used for renewing the lands. Quote, the circles were erected at sites where, under certain astronomical conditions, a source of natural energy would be generated, for which the ancient priests found a practical use to benefit themselves or the people. End quote. And from another source we find, quote, at certain seasons, the lines were believed to become animated by a current of invisible energy, reaching a peak on certain days, which would have a fertilizing effect upon the land. End quote. We now come to the matter of the grid, which is a dodecahedron superimposed upon an icosahedron. I'm just going to spell that for you. Icosahedron. Plato said that the earth, when viewed from above, resembled a ball sewn from 12 pieces of skin. The 20 vortices that this structure creates are found to be the points of maximum and minimum global atmospheric pressures. These are the points of origination of atmospheric vortices or hurricanes and giant ocean water vortices. It was also discovered that mid-oceanic ridges or core faults and active geological cones occurred along the edges of the crystalline structure, and such phenomena, active spots as the Bermuda Triangle, fall upon the nodes. The relationship between the tetrahedron and a sphere was the basis of the work of Buckminster Fuller, who suggested in his book Synergetics that the tetrahedron gives the basic mathematical blueprint for the universe. Quote, from what he calls his isotropic vector matrix, Fuller obtains a constant of square root of 9/8, which comes to 1.06066, so close to the Harleston's 1.059 constant that it fits with the Teotihuacan complex virtually as well. End quote. Finally, let me point out one last curiosity. Quote, similar energized lines were obtained by Buckminster Fuller as great circles which define the lowest multiple of his vector equilibrium triangles, of which there are 48 to a sphere. It's 48. If one of the edges of Fuller's cuboctahedron, CUBOCTAHEDRON, lies along the equator, the intersection of three of his great circles will define the latitude of Teotihuacan to within 1/4 of a degree. End quote. This paper has only touched upon material which could be explored in greater detail. The similarities between these sites can no longer be denied. Here are stones which, with even today's technology, cannot be lifted. It is possible to photograph energy manifestations which are unexplainable. However, in the mythology and folklore of mankind are found answers to the riddles discussed here. Perhaps 20th century man's awareness has expanded enough to finally fit the puzzle together. Site myths relate stories of flying machines, magicians, and magical things. Today, reputable observers document perceptions outside the realm of everyday experience. The comparisons seem endless. Man must stop and think. Things are not as they seem. And this has a bibliography at the end here, so I'm going to read off all of these book titles. There's 8 from the 70s, there's 4 from the 80s. This first is Awesome Force by Joseph Cater. Second is Mysteries of Stonehenge by Neil Fernand. Third is A Closer Look, Stonehenge A Closer Look by Bonnie Gaunt. The fourth is The Great Pyramid Decoded by Peter Lemessurier. That's spelled Lemessurier. The fifth is The View Over Atlantis by John Mitchell, Michell. Another book by the same author, for number 6, is Megalithomania. The seventh book, Omni Magazine by Morris Scott. The eighth book, The Secret Force of the Pyramids by Warren Smith. The 9th book, Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids, by Peter Tompkins, and also by the same author. Number 10, Secrets of the Great Pyramid. Number 11 is The Pattern of the Past by Guy Underwood. And number 12 is The Stones of Atlantis by David Zink. Let me know in the chat, where do we start? What book do we pick from this bibliography here? And again, if you want to screenshot this for later, here's your chance. And again, I picked this up from Coral Castle, from the gift shop. This was part of other literature I could buy, so I did so. I think it was a great investment. It's a good resource for all these megalithic monuments. And for these other books at the end here. So this opens up everything. For this deep dive series, we can go into any of this if we want. And it's still concerning Coral Castle. So I did say I would talk about this slideshow here. And we did finish this paper pretty quickly, so yeah, Bruce Cathy's gonna be next, Jay. That's gonna be the very next thing we cover. And hopefully we get to that next week. If not, I will be just taking a week off to wait for the book to show up. But hopefully I won't have to wait like that. So I'll just talk about these photos for a little bit and chat with you here while we're live. Yeah, we just covered a bunch of Coral Castle stuff over 11 parts. Some of it we had to really space out into separate parts, but we got it. We got all of it done. Only took 3 months. Doing this an hour or two at a time. The Pyramid Decoded catches your eye, Jay? Awesome. Yeah, I'll be looking into these books and seeing what'll be best to step into first. So I really do enjoy reading here with you guys. And I learn stuff as I go through this with you. So earlier we were talking, or the book was talking about Ed using those witching rods to find water. I wonder if he found there was a lot more water running underneath the current location where the castle's at, as opposed to where he was in Florida City at first. And that's also why he moved. But like, he moved that Polaris stone. That thing was that was the biggest piece to be moved. And we're talking moving in miles. That's like moving from one town to another. Just bring your house along. Put it on wheels. Yeah, so this picture here is me in the gift shop. And I'm fairly certain this is a 1-to-1 scale cutout. Or best recreated by the museum there. And if you caught the new intro today, I put on my head that I'm 5'10", just so that you could get a good scale comparison there between Ed and myself. Yeah, Jay, I don't even know how many pages these other books are. So that's when I take the time to like really plan out I could plan the next 10 to 20 deep dives and not even cover two of those books in that bibliography. So then it becomes a question of how far can we deviate from Coral Castle where it's still about Coral Castle. But if megaliths is the similar factor here with everything, we have a lot to cover. If Coral Castle is being considered in the same league as the Pyramid at Giza and Stonehenge, then both of those topics I think can safely be covered here with all the Coral Castle stuff. And this way it opens it up. It opens up like the Pyramid and Stonehenge stuff to people who wouldn't have looked for it otherwise. And they may have heard about Coral Castle at some point. But that's a major purpose of this deep dive series, is it's going to be evergreen for quite a while. This is information that you can go out and use. You can come back to it anytime. And the way that I'm backing up all of my content to multiple platforms, it should stay on the internet for more than the foreseeable future. And I went to this location. I got these photos. I was standing in Coral Castle like this. I'm behind the camera of these photos you're seeing on the screen. It had a good energy about it. There's the Polaris stone. So that's the largest stone at Coral Castle, and that was the largest that was moved from the first location. Yeah, there was some weird punishment stuff that Ed built here, like confessional room. I think that's what we were looking at, something like that. Yeah, as we were saying before, the next part 12 of this deep dive series, I want it to be uh, starting the Bruce Cathy book, so hopefully we will get there by next Tuesday. Stalking the Wild Pendulum. It's funny you mentioned that. Let's see here. So I'm watching this channel called ALI3N 2000. And I'm going to link here in the chat. So I still have to finish this. I'm on video 4 of 10 for Stalking the Wild Pendulum. It's funny you bring that up, Jay. And see, this guy's reading chapter by chapter of that book. And he does this on Twitch and YouTube. So, it is what it is. I'll eventually finish all of this, but I was trying to just absorb the first 3 parts. It was a lot of information. Awesome, Jay. Yeah, thank you. And I'm getting a lot more comfortable in this setup here. We got everything filled out. We don't have any black on the screen anymore. I think that's a really good upgrade. It didn't bother me at first, but now it's like I see backgrounds on a lot of other shows. it keeps the attention. I don't know. It's unfortunate that I have to think that way. But that's how I have to build this channel up, is getting more eyes on here. Oh, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Holy moly. Jay just came in here with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Jay. Wow. I will continue to deliver this top tier content to all of you. I do enjoy reading out loud, and I think all of you can comprehend the topics we're covering here. I really appreciate you all being here. And with doing all this, it takes time, like I said. So I just can't focus on the low view counts, so to speak, because can we say that we were shadow banned for a few years? I don't know. I'm just going to keep making content. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, I've learned, especially just this year alone, that it takes commitment to do this every week, week in and week out. So I'm really happy that I did this Coral Castle series the way I did. I sat on a lot of this stuff for over 2 years because I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. But now that, we have all of this rolling the way it is, I think this is a good landing page, and going forward, I think it'll be good for research purposes. And I hope Coral Castle stays around for a long time to come. The tour guide, I think, mentioned over the next 100 to 150 years, all of this coral rock is going to be like deteriorated even more so than what it looks like now. I'm not sure if it was polished or not when Ed first built it, but there probably is weathering that we're not aware of, that we don't see right away because we don't know what it looked like when he first cut it. And in the books that we've covered so far, Ed's been known, or there's been suggestions that Ed may have made some sort of concrete that looks like this coral rock. But for anybody saying that, there's a bunch of, just looking into this is one chunk that they say he drilled a hole into. And I don't know. I haven't seen anybody look into the core samples of Coral Castle here. I'm sure that's going to come one day. But what else was I going to say about this? So if let's say these people that are theorizing about Ed making concrete and claiming this to be coral rock, how do you explain the pits that are outside of this place? And we'll get to that shortly in the slideshow. When it pops up, I'll point it out again. But outside of the walls, you could see where he lifted all of these walls. I want to say brick by brick, but these things are huge. These are these are solid single stone pieces that he somehow wedged out of the ground and lifted up. And it's all sitting perfectly too, mind you. I think if there was any mortar or touch up on the walls, on the creases, that was done well after Ed's passing. And it may have been done by the first owner, or it may have been the first owner after Ed's passing, or the museum, because that's the linear custodianship. Yeah, so this throne says not to sit there anymore. Here's one of those. So this is like the coral bed you're looking down into, and there's a fence around it. And this is actually outside of the walls. So if you look up the top right corner, you can see that. And this too, this is on the outside. Yeah, this formation fascinated me. I'm like, I need to take a few more pictures of this thing. So there's, you can see on the right side there's wedges, and you can see it even clearer here. There's like lines that go up and down this thing, and the explanation was given during the tour that those are where Ed put like wooden wedges into between the rocks to separate them. But I don't know how that would have worked. I would say it was some sort of metal wedges and not wooden. But the theory was given that he put these wedges into the sides of all of these so that he could make singular breaks so that these blocks could be moved out. So this here is the coral bed that I was talking about before. So he wedged all of them out and then he put them up on, it made a wall. So explain this one to me. If you're saying that he did all of this with concrete that he made himself, then what did he do here? Explain what he did here with these walls. And also look at how tightly packed that is. If there's even any, see, there's some stuff packed on the left side of the seam, but the right side there's nothing. Yeah, and there's a hedge of bushes around here. These are great photos. I'm surprised I haven't talked about them yet, but you've been seeing these this whole time throughout this deep dive here. You know what? I'm going to make sure that not only the Bruce Cathy book shows up, but one of those out of the bibliography here. Because we got to celebrate here with Jay's super chats here. He's not giving just one here. He's giving a few now. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, this sign was outside the front. You could see the intersection behind it, 157th Avenue. That was put up well after it was a museum, obviously. But I'd called it Rock Gate, and now that Rock Gate can't even spin anymore. Let's see how we're doing here. All right, I'll stay here a little longer with you guys, and we'll call it. And I'll start building up this next show. This is going to be great. I like that we're expanding out into more of what Ed was researching here on his property. But from what we read today, it does seem like Ed knew there were natural springs here. He has a water well. There's photos of it in here. Well, I've pointed it out before. It's a little spiral staircase going down into the ground. But Ed thought this second location in Homestead fit his goals better. Had everything moved like... Think about doing that today. Think about moving everything that you have that's extremely heavy. That's why I say, like, for an example, Imagine moving to your town next door, but you want to bring your entire house with you. That's essentially what Ed did. I think these plaques are fairly new, like this entrance one here, and you'll be seeing unusual accomplishment. Thank you, Jay. Yeah. You know, I noticed some people forget that, not just about me, but about themselves too, that they have more courage than they realize. You see, with narcissists, they want to make you feel like you're nothing, absolutely nothing. And I've dealt with narcissists my whole life, so maybe that's what's hardened the skin here, so to speak. But I stepped into the flames, into the fire for others. I put my reputation, my livelihood on the line for some previous guests that I've had on here. We speak about things that I definitely won't find on Twitter or Facebook. But yeah, this is a real place. I don't know if Ed was anything more than just a spectacular human, but even that's enough. I don't buy into the whole thing he's an alien. Like, that was one of the theories that came up here. Yeah, with a lot of these YouTube channels, especially with like any type of long-term project you're looking into, I've been told that like you have to wait until like the third year of doing the same thing, and then from year 3 to year 5 is when you just see an acceleration of progress. And it's been 3 years since I started doing interviews on this channel. But really, this is only year 1 for the deep dives. But this channel blew up. I was only at a few hundred subscribers when I started doing the board meeting videos, and that was when I was trying to be active in local politics. So this is a lot more fun doing these videos. I don't know if you can catch some of these photos here. These are beds in this photo. Ed has steps everywhere on this location. Like, he made stairs going up to different parts of the castle here by the walls and stuff. Hey, Woo Rider. Good to see you. Yeah, I can easily see us doing this Coral Castle deep dive through the end of this year. I can comfortably say that. You'll be getting a deep dive in December. That's about how far out I could see. But I can't predict everything. We'll try to do this again next Tuesday, and if the books don't show up in time, then we will just reschedule for 2 weeks from now. So it's either going to be next week or the week after that we'll pick up on all of this content. Yeah, here's another portion of his well that we're looking at, and here's the stairs going down. He had a little stone circle that he blocked the stairwell off with. Man, this shot right here with these structures is just phenomenal. I think he spent a lot of time just on this particular area. Look at the stairs in the front, all the seats, and these are all positioned so that he can be in the direct sunlight at any given day, at any given time of the day. You found Brenda's channel, Woo? I haven't found it yet. I've been told that they're kind of wild. I thought this picture was cool. There was a lizard on top of Saturn here. Like, you see the detail in these things? Let's zoom in a bit. We're doing a zoom in of the slideshow here, and then this will probably be it for today. Well, we got about 10 minutes before an hour. There's calendar stone. And see, I think the museum repaints this thing, because you can see how it's chipping off and stuff. And here people are throwing quarters into this, what's now a wishing well. There's another seat you can't sit in. It's the moon seat. There's another one. Do not climb on coral, it says. And this is not the Polaris stone, but it is for viewing the stars. And it's looking through that one rock hole. It's either right here, right in front of it there. Yeah, because we're looking at that same stone through this hole. So the blue portion is exactly where that is. Beautiful. I want to say that Ed did touch up some of the stonework. It does look like it's polished off a little bit. I'm not sure how to describe it. And then here's that's either the heart table or the Florida. That's the Florida. Table in the shape of Florida with a bunch of chairs. Here it is again. See, he added this. So that's definitely different from the coral rock. Like, you can tell the difference there. I was trying to get as many pictures as possible here, because as I mentioned in the intro, there's no video allowed. In fact, I was getting looks when I was doing the panoramic. Woo, I really don't know how long this took Ed to do all this. Think about this. He dug this pit out himself. That's a little chair for him to sit in. He dug this whole thing out himself. He lifted those rocks himself. He lifted these wall pieces himself. How'd he get that top one up there? And these are questions that we may not get answers to, unless we really do find the secrets of how he did it. Now, another question is, did Ed really want it to be revealed how he did it? So again, these are apparently wedges. Wedge marks coming from sections of the ground like this. In the books, it says that this took Ed about his whole life. I don't know when he stopped making structures here. But this one, the tall one, is one of the first ones, and it's not even from this area. Like he had it moved. What is that up top? So this is officially the highest resolution that I've showed these photos. Well, it's a little too close up. Oh, I was trying to get a picture of another lizard there. Almost don't see it with the color of the head. So this was easy to find, the location, if you're planning on visiting. It's pretty straightforward. It's right off of the highway. It's like the only highway. It's like Route 1 or something. So we'll get these pictures back here. We'll get me back up on the side here. So I hope you enjoyed all the content we've covered so far from Coral Castle. That's everything I've brought back with me from Coral Castle. And we just completed looking at all of that. And next we have with the Energy Grid by Bruce Cathy. We're going to be getting into a lot of this technical and very fascinating material. So we'll aim for next Tuesday for part 12. If that doesn't happen, then plan for the 29th. But I do hope to do this again next Tuesday on the 22nd with all of you. And yeah, Thursday we have Bermuda Triangle. Same time, 6:05 p.m. We're getting close to finishing the Charles Berlitz book. And then Saturday, we are continuing Flickering Empire in the deep dive into the Chicago film industry. And then Sunday's our Hangout stream, which should be around, like 11:05 a.m. Chicago Standard Time here. So just keep a lookout for all that. I am getting all of these shows uploaded a lot sooner now. It's like within days. I'm working on getting it up. Like this show in the future, like these Tuesday shows should be up as a regular video on Useful Missile Productions channel. Besides the live. So you'll have the live. It'll always be there. But in the main videos tab, the next day, I want to have these live streams re-uploaded. If that makes any sense. And eventually we'll have new reels that'll go out to TikTok and Instagram, and that will hopefully continue to pick up all of the live viewers here. But it's not all about that. It's about actually getting this content out to people. So whether you're watching it now or you're watching it later on after it's been recorded, it's here for your knowledge, for your entertainment, but I like to say it's here for your knowledge. And I'll continue to be making updates in post form on YouTube. I never really liked doing that, but it seems like it works, just like posting a status update, and it goes into the notifications. So I think I will be using the YouTube posts to give updates on stuff whenever I'm not doing videos. And those posts, the text posts, I plan to cross post on Substack. And then that way it's not all jumbled and you're not seeing the same thing over and over and over again all across all my platforms. At least it'll lead you to where I want you to go, which is this YouTube channel, then Rumble, then BitChute and Brighteon and all the other ones, because that's all for backup. Okay, we have hit 1 hour. I hope you all enjoyed today. Even though we did 5 pages out of a paper, we covered, again, the Pyramid at Giza and Stonehenge, and how Coral Castle is considered the same rank as those megalithic sites. And now that we have gotten all of that content out of the way, we can start talking about the energy grid. And that's going to be very fascinating. I guarantee it. So, that's it for today, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Thursday, be here again, 6:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bermuda Triangle. I think it's part 8 that we're doing. So, that's that. Until the next one. Class dismissed.